Hello and welcome to a very special event. Can we have the next slide, please? This serves both the purpose of being the closing ceremony for an extraordinary week of workshops over the last few days, but also as an opportunity to share some new awards, some new Digital Futures awards that we are giving out to, in a way, to bolster and strengthen already the language channels that we've been launched in the last few months or so. So today, first of all, can I start off by saying thank you. Can we have the next slide, please? Saying thank you to for all those involved in these extraordinary workshops that have taken place over the last week or so. And it's been an amazing effort. This is something that we're deeply grateful for all those who've been tutoring these workshops. We're deeply grateful for those who are behind the organization of all these workshops, and we're deeply grateful for those students who participate in it. It was certainly very gratifying for us to have such interest in these workshops, especially from the Farsi community. So we kicked off, in fact, with a series of domestic digital future China hybrid workshops before launching into the ones of the past week: the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Turkish, the English, the Arabic, and the Farsi. We kept them separate because it didn't make sense to fit into the domestic scheduled timetable in China. This was the optimum time of the year for North and South Hemisphere, and the best for everyone. So this effectively then is the closing ceremony for an astonishing event, one that's been many months in the preparation. Next slide, please. I want to just to mention that everything that we do is uploaded onto our Digital Futures website as our YouTube channel as a record for posterity that's freely accessible for everyone all around the world. Next slide. And I want to give a particular thanks for the main organizing committee behind Digital Futures, a group of extraordinary individuals who willingly give their time to help organize this particular event. And it is, as I mentioned, it's many months in the making. A lot of work goes into this. I often think that compare Digital Futures to something like an iceberg. You can see something, but really there's much more that's going on beneath the water. There's a huge amount of work, a huge amount of effort that is put into organizing this. And this is all done by volunteers who are giving their time freely in order to share their passion for architecture. Next slide, please. I want to, first of all, I want to just say a few words about what is the motivation about Digital Futures and how it first began and what it's seeking to do in the future, and a few comments about the past year that I think has been quite significant in some ways. As many of you know, Digital Futures owes its origin to an event back in 2011 when a group of American universities under the aegis of the American University in China, and especially University of Southern California, came across to China to collaborate with a number of Chinese universities, especially Tongji University, on a series of workshops and a conference. And over the years, this gradually grew into probably being the largest in-person festival in the world. Then in 2020, with COVID, something extraordinary happened. And this is really the moment when Digital Futures really emerged as what it is today, a global platform, a global classroom, as you were. And suddenly there was an exponential growth from a few hundred of people attending these events to many thousands. And not only that, but we decided to keep this platform open throughout the year. So all of a sudden, Digital Futures mutated from a domestic kind of in-person event to an all year round platform. One of the things that we discovered when we launched our 2020 online international event was that we were able to do something very significant that we hadn't quite anticipated. Of course, we were able to break through the physical walls of the classroom to open up in new ways, but we were also able to, in the sense, to break through all the social, political, economic barriers that had so far held people back and prevented people from having access to education. And that's really become the mission of Digital Futures itself. And in a moment, I will play you a video of this. But let me just simply sort of say well, in its present form, Digital Futures is now, it's very different to what it started off as. It is something that is, in some senses, there's no one person in charge. Rather, it's a collective bottom-up organization of people willing to contribute towards this particular cause. It is a movement as such. It is not constrained by any particular time zone. It's not necessarily a link to any one particular country, still less any one particular city or indeed one institution. Rather, it is everybody coming together and feeling the need to really to share our passion for architecture and to offer Digital Futures, to offer it as a form of para-educational platform where we can introduce ideas to people throughout the world. Over the past year, we've seen significant developments in terms of how things have been developing. We started introducing language channels in end of 2021. These have grown steadily. And in the past year, we introduced our Italian language channel. We also had our first ever kind of hybrid event in Venice, the Venice Biennale, where a number of us were there and present. We've also broadcast that event. And this year has also seen a really significant increase in the number of people who have been viewing our videos and so on. In the last 12 months, we've had over 3 million views, and we're well on our way to breaking through the 10 million view barrier. Things are developing in a really, really encouraging direction. Also in the past year, we were shortlisted for the International QS Awards for Reimagining Education. We didn't quite win, but we put together a video for that event. And what I want to do now, before handing on to talk to the individual presentations for the awards themselves, is just to show you the video that we put forward about how we're trying to, in a way, to democratize education through this platform. We see education, importantly, as being something that should be seen as a human right and not as a privilege of the wealthy. And we're trying to, in that way, it says to initiate a movement that will have a global impact on the way that architecture is taught throughout the world. So maybe we could play the video. Thanks. Digital Futures is an independent organization for online architecture education, where everything is available for free. Staffed by volunteers, we organize workshops, tutorials, and talks in several different languages. We aim to bring important educational ideas to architectural students across the planet, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, religion, gender, age, or economic standing. We use our online platform to break through not only the physical walls of the classroom, but also the economic, social, and political barriers that for so long have prevented certain individuals from having access to important educational ideas.
Thank you so much, Digital Futures, for opening up access and breaking the barriers towards educational inclusion. You are allowing so many Kenyans like me to imagine better possibilities. You are and will continue to shape the way we make and envision our futures. Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you do. Truly, we in India are really grateful for the knowledge and tutorials that you bring and the access that you share so freely. Thank you.
We are interested in the environment, sustainability, sea level rise in Bangladesh, the deforestation of the Amazon, and in non-Western voices from Africa, from India, and female voices from the Arabic-speaking world. At Digital Futures, we are reimagining education. We are developing a new model where everything is available for free and barriers to learning do not exist. Education, we believe, should be a universal human right and not a privilege of the wealthy. Thank you. So let me pass on to Ipsita, who's just going to say a few words about the English language workshops. Thank you.
Hi, we are part of the English workshop team, and this year we successfully conducted 14 workshops across different streams of digital architecture, from coding to actually fabrication. And I'm really thankful to our team who supported us to make this happen. And can we go to the next slide, please? And yeah, so if you see the workshop, it spanned from 3D printing in industrial scale, in the architectural scale, to imagining worlds in different realms through Midjourney and AI. So from the reviews that we got from the students as well as instructors, they were an amazing set of workshops, and the knowledge was shared in a wider range. Now let me pass on to Giovanna.
Hi, everyone. Good morning for me and for the people who are in South America and Latin America. So in 2021, Digital Futures took the initiative to spread the potential of free knowledge about design, architecture, art, and to every corner of the planet, using language as its vehicle. We in Digital Futures Spanish, we are Giovanna Pillaca from Peru, Camila Andino from Ecuador, Alberto Fernandez from Chile, and Roberto Ángel Argüelles from Mexico. Together we are Digital Futures Spanish, and we consider ourselves both fortunate and responsible for carrying this message to every corner of the Spanish-speaking world. It's an honor for us to collaborate with the most relevant contemporary figures in the fields of architecture, art, and design. And over the past 2 years, we have been privileged to host more than 90 guests throughout tutorials, exhibitions, and engaging talks. Our primary mission has been to disseminate the cutting-edge vision of design, architecture, and the arts within the Spanish-speaking context. And despite being miles apart, we have found the opportunity to connect and make friends with colleagues from distant places. We are creating a safe, vibrant space filled with questions and answers where we can collectively build our knowledge, both from global and local perspective. By building bridges that span oceans and mountains, we believe that we have only just scratched the surface of what's possible. Digital Future Spanish is an ever-evolving journey, and this is just the beginning. And thank you for joining us on this adventure. I would like to share the same words, but in Spanish. That is the next video. Please, Gustavo.
Hola, muy buenas noches, tardes o buenos días, dependiendo de la zona horaria. Estamos en esta nueva sesión de Digital Futures Spanish.
Desde el año 2021, Digital Futures tomó la iniciativa de expandir el potencial del conocimiento libre sobre el diseño, la arquitectura y el arte a cada rincón del planeta, con la lengua como su vehículo. Somos Giovanna Pillaca de Lima, Perú, Camila Andino de Ecuador, Alberto Fernández de Chile y Roberto Argüelles de México. Somos miembros del equipo Digital Futures en español. Tenemos la fortuna y la responsabilidad de llevar este mensaje a cada rincón de la esfera hispanohablante. Todo esto con la ayuda de los exponentes contemporáneos más relevantes en el rubro del diseño, la arquitectura y las artes. Más de 90 invitados a lo largo de 2 años. Tutoriales, exposiciones y mesas de diálogo abiertas enfocadas en la divulgación de una visión de vanguardia del diseño, la arquitectura y las artes en el contexto hispanohablante. Nos unen las ganas de aprender, enseñar y comunicar. Nos unen las ganas de hacer amigos en colegas, a kilómetros de distancia, de encontrarnos en un lugar seguro, vibrante, lleno de preguntas y respuestas. Un lugar desde el que podemos construir nuestro conocimiento con una visión global y local.
Bienvenidos. La pantalla es completamente suya. Pueden comenzar cuando quieran.
Muchísimas gracias por venir. El micrófono es tuyo.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí. El espacio es tuyo.
Y bueno, muchas gracias por la sesión de hoy.
Construimos puentes que cruzan océanos y cordilleras. Y este es solo el principio. Somos Digital Futures en español. Gracias por acompañarnos. El micrófono es suyo.
Well, and today, as Digital Futures, we are delighted to announce the winner of the 2023. The Digital Futures Spanish Award is Michael Roskin. He is a Mexican architect. He founded in 2022 Roskin Architects. And since then, the firm has been on a strong path of innovation and exploration of architectural programs and building techniques, successfully translating the complex form of these new ideas into realities that can be built with local manufacturing skills. They mentioned that they generate strategies that enrich the final results of the design. And since today's proposals must seek the maximum potential, they must provide added value and give something back to society. He was visiting professor in different important universities and institutes of architecture around the world. And also he received multiple awards and competitions and lectures in many countries. But today we have the complete honor to have Michael Roskin today, and he is our Spanish award.
Hola
Welcome, Michael.
a todos. Hola a todos. Muchísimas gracias. I'll switch from Spanish to English, but thank you guys very much. Neil, amazing work that you guys are doing with Digital Futures. Giovanna, gracias. Michelle Roskin from Mexico City, guys. I'm going to share a little presentation. Honored to be here, to be part of this community, and to be able to talk a little bit of the main concepts of what we're doing. So if you can see my screen there, is that good? Yep.
Yes.
Can somebody say yes? Perfect. Gracias. So I want to talk a little bit about the concepts that kind of move the office really quick, and then I'll share a little personal things in between. But I think it's important for us to understand what is the community that we're working with, who is out there, what has changed. Community is not something that we plan in the future and say we're going to sprinkle something here and this is going to grow here. Community is happening right now. No matter if we change community from one place to another, we have to talk about architectural and social cohesion. We have to open up our eyes and understand the things that we've done wrong, recognize our participation in things that we know can change, and understand how to take it to the future. Designing for impact and understanding the role of architecture in nurturing and thriving communities. What is happening in the places where we're doing our architecture? We have to revise the strategy, reformulate the question, and produce the best results for any project that we're doing. So it's important to think what we're doing before we're doing it. These are some examples of work that we've done. Cineteca Nacional in Mexico City. I'm not going to talk about too much the architecture, but what has happened socially and how people come together and take this space. We designed, of course, the theaters and everything else, but everything that's happening around what we designed, leaving these spaces for life to happen, is what interests us most, because that's the community that we're working with. So understanding the impact of the education that you guys are trying to do with Digital Futures, but also understanding the impact that we're trying to do with designs and architecture, that it's open up for everybody. That even though this is a project for the National Film Institute here in Mexico City, it serves as a platform for culture and design. Other projects that we've done, residential projects, but also talk about the community where they're at, opening up to the outside, connecting to the city, and remembering that everything that we do is a political act. Even though we say it or we don't say it, design continually shapes our environments, and each choice carries political implications. This is a project that we did for a grocery store, but besides the design, the most important aspect was getting farmers to harvest the rooftop of this project. And I think design strategies and understanding how to level or bring a platform that is able to connect with other people and provide a better income from the farmers that were around this area, for us was an important part of the project. It was even more important than the physical design of the store itself. So understanding how design is more than just a simple way of designing, being interdisciplinary, no? The idea, the value of incredible minds coming together. I've always been incredibly collaborative, and I think that that's the way of that we need to focus on right now. Meet the community's evolving needs, but with teamwork. This is a project in collaboration with Marlon Blackwell, Christian Callahan, and Haruka Hayurushi, 3 offices working together on a project in Bentonville, Arkansas, which is a project that is interesting because the community is a very a community that uses their bike a lot. So we designed a project that you can bike up to the 6th floor of the building. It's an office building. It has these beautiful ramps on the outside connecting the street all the way up to the city. So you can, of course, go inside the building and take the elevator, but we wanted people to walk up the building, to bike up the building, and to have a different experience, and connecting to the local community, the way the community unravels in its own way, and connecting with architecture that talks about their spaces. We talk a lot about regenerative as well, instead of sustainable, because we think that sustainable is not enough anymore. No, there's nothing to sustain. We need to think about regenerative solutions that create new paths and enhance our interrelationship with our planet. Learn from nature, celebrate it. This is a house we're building right now, Casa Roca, with Delecamp architects, a beautiful mind, also great friend of mine. And understanding the land. And understanding the land, we need to focus on what we're doing with architecture as honoring the space that we're at. I always think of when we're planting seeds. No, we put some energy into the land. We put our best intentions, our best ways of understanding and designing, and then we start this relationship with nature and the communication of are we doing our best with what we have, with the resources we have. So even though it doesn't matter the size of the project, we're understanding how to relate better to what we're doing with the projects in general. I'll close really quick with this one that most of you, the people that know my work and the Spanish community, gracias a todos, also some Spanish words that I'll say at the end. I always say walk the talk. It doesn't matter how much we talk about the work. I mean, you have to really prove it and be coherent to what you're doing. To me, it's, again, this is not, it's more than only what we do, but how we're doing it. How do we treat the staff that we're working with? How do we work with our clients? How do we work with our workers on the construction sites? What's our purpose? Does it match the purpose of the world we want to live in or not? This is a Philharmonica that we designed in Boca del Rio, Veracruz. And it was designed to be an urban instigator, not only a project for the Philharmonica, but a project that would eventually have the power to make everything around it evolve and change. So it was designed in a way to connect all the social tissues, to plan the future for the city and regenerate some of the areas that need to grow. So the project was always presented with the wave breakers and everything around it, because the project is not only the Philharmonica, but everything that kind of encompasses the Philharmonica around it. The project is mainly these concrete shells that enclose a 950 seating area with recording studios, another space for exhibition and performances. It sits on the ocean where the river ends up in the ocean in Veracruz. Made in concrete, very raw, to sustain, to be very, you have the north winds coming in from that side, so we wanted to protect from the north winds. So the idea of having this monumental building kind of become the mouth of the entrance to the theater. These are some of the images of the finished project. But I think one of the most important things that I want to leave you with is this little video that explains a little bit of what we were talking about. This happened when we started doing the project, and the mayor of the city of Boca del Rio called everybody to the main stage. And when he called everybody to the main stage, people thought that because this guy was a politician back in the days when we were doing this project, he thought that he was going to scream at everybody. telling them that the site was not finished and we didn't have too much time. But another thing happened. All the musicians from the Philharmonica started appearing with hard hats, with vests, dressed as the workers, to give a performance to the workers that were doing the job on the site. And this really touched a very deep part of me, understanding that this is our community. We can't wait for projects to be built, to open up and think that the community is the new community coming in. Community is a community that we engage with every day. So you would imagine the faces of the workers the last 4 months of construction. They were super amazed. They were so happy to be working there, because we need to acknowledge other people. We need to connect with other people. We need to know the importance. Everybody wants to be seen, and we want to be seen for different things. And if we want to change the world and to imagine it and we envision it, we really have to see each other. So this is a beautiful example of how something can be done in a beautiful way. So this was an amazing experience. And of course, when the building opened up, we had incredible reasons to celebrate. But the most important thing was acknowledging that everybody around us is the community, the importance of connecting, the importance of understanding our role in what we're designing, buildings that can refurbish, cities that can start growing in the future, the everyday life happening around the buildings that we do, acknowledging and how we welcome the fishermen in this case, in a project that was designed for a Philharmonica, but we put lighting on the wave breakers. And again, I just want to say that community is now, that I'm super happy to receive this award. I'm honored to be part of the community in Spanish, en español o en inglés. Es un honor ser parte de esta comunidad. Look around for what we see as our community. Don't wait for people to tell you what community is. And also leaving you with this. These are tree growth rings, and these are our human fingerprints. We always say that we need to go to nature to connect, but we forget that we are nature. So we are nature, and remember that what we build ends up building us. So thank you, Neil. Thank you to all the team for Digital Futures. It's an honor to be the Mexican or the Spanish winner for this year, and looking forward to doing more things with you guys in the future.
Thank you so much, Michael. Muchas gracias a todos. Y vamos a continuar ahora sí con el siguiente equipo. Muchísimas gracias.
Saludos a todos. Gracias.
Well,
Yeah,
now we
good.
can continue with Digital Futures in Portuguese.
So, thank you. Hello everybody. Olá, bom dia a todos. Em 2022, o Digital Futures ampliou suas fronteiras, buscando uma inclusão ainda maior através da criação de canais em diferentes idiomas. Nascia assim o Digital Futures Português, composto por mim, Angélica Ponte, junto com meus colegas Ricardo Rodrigues, Daniela Silva, Leonardo Prazeres, Sara Sonobai e Sandro Martins. Temos o prazer e o compromisso de disseminar essa mensagem para todos os cantos do mundo lusófono. Nos últimos 2 anos, nossa plataforma tornou-se um palco para diversos tutoriais e debates, trazendo as mais recentes inovações no campo digital e arquitetura. A distância geográfica não foi uma barreira, mas sim uma ponte que nos permitiu conectar, interagir e estabelecer laços com profissionais de diferentes regiões. O Digital Futures Português tornou-se um ambiente acolhedor e dinâmico, um fórum de troca de ideias, onde a construção coletiva do conhecimento acontece sob uma ótica tanto global como local. Convidamos a todos a continuar nossa jornada conosco, mas não antes sem agradecer aos nossos instrutores brasileiros e portugueses deste festival e aos que nos acompanharam nos nossos workshops, assim como todos que têm contribuído conosco. Nosso muito obrigado. So a little bit in English. In 2022, Digital Futures expanded its horizons, aiming for even greater inclusion by creating channels in different languages. Thus, the Digital Futures Portuguese was born, comprising of myself, Angélica Ponce, along with my colleagues Ricardo Rodrigues, Daniela Silva, Leonardo Prazeres, Sara Sonobai, and Sandro Martins. We are honored and committed to spreading this message to every corner of the Lusophone world. Próximo slide, por favor. Este ano, nós vamos ter o prazer de lançar o primeiro prêmio do Digital Futures Português, e a nossa primeira distinção vai merecidamente para a talentosa arquiteta portuguesa Mariana Cabugueira. This year, we are pleased to introduce, the video, please, you have to play. This is before Mariana. This is a little bit of our work, pouco do nosso trabalho durante esse ano passado e este ano, onde nós tivemos o prazer de receber vários instrutores e tutoriais e talks em português para todos os cantos do mundo lusófono. Thank you. I think you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So, again, este ano temos o prazer de lançar o primeiro prêmio do Digital Futures português e nossa primeira distinção vai merecidamente para a talentosa arquiteta portuguesa Mariana Capugueiro. So this year, we are pleased to introduce the inaugural Digital Futures Portuguese Award, and our first distinction rightfully goes to the talented Portuguese architect Mariana Capugueiro. A little bit of Mariana. Mariana é fundadora do Mariana Capugueiro Studios, estúdio de arquitetura e design que hibridiza a prática do projeto arquitetônico para ambientes físicos e digitais. Mariana é arquiteta com mestrado em arquitetura e urbanismo pela Escola FAL de Lisboa e pelo Politécnico de Milano. E architectural designer com mestrado em pesquisa de projeto arquitetônico pela Escola AEA de Londres. Em 2017, Mariana ingressou nos Zaha Hadid Architects após se formar na AEA School. Como arquiteta sênior, ela fez parte do Competition Puzzle por 5 anos e foi a designer de vários projetos vencedores. Em 2022, Mariana aceitou o cargo de Lead Architect na Wider World, dirigindo o departamento de arquitetura responsável pela construção digital da cidade do metaverso Miami. Em 2023, Mariana ocupou o cargo de diretora de arte da Wider World, além de fundar seu próprio escritório, Mariana Capugueiro Studios, uma plataforma de ensino e prática para arquitetura evolutiva e design digital. Os principais objetivos desse estudo são de um metaverso AI-powered e a prática paramétrica de design do contexto físico. Mariana também é professora, Head Tutor do MetaFluid Studio com a AI Academy desde 2021 para estudante internacional. Her bio in English. Mariana is the founder of Mariana Capugueiro Studios, an architecture and design studio that hybridizes practice of architectural design for physical and digital environments. Mariana is an architect with a master in architecture and urbanism from the School of FAL in Lisbon and the Politécnico de Milano, and an architectural designer with a master in architectural design research from the EA School in London. In 2017, Mariana joined Zaha Hadid Architects after graduating from the EA School. As a senior architect, she was part of the competition cluster for 5 years and the architectural designer of winning projects such as Navi Mumbai Airport and the Tower C in Shenzhen. In 2022, Mariana accepted the role as a lead architect at Wider World, directing the architecture department that is responsible for the digital build of the Metaverse City, Miami. In 2023, Mariana held the role of art director of Wider World until founding her own practice, Mariana Capugueiro Studios, a teaching and practice platform for revolutionary architecture and digital design. The main goals of these studios are the construction of an AI-powered metaverse and the parametric practice of design of the physical context. Mariana is also a teacher, head tutor of MetaFluid Studio with PA Academy since 2021, and an international public speaker. Bem-vinda, Mariana. Prazer te ter aqui.
Yay! Obrigada, Angélica. Eu vou passar já para inglês. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Angélica. Thank you, Neil. I think we've been together for such a long time, and it really is an honor to be receiving this award. And I also have to sincerely congratulate Digital Futures. I've seen your journey since the beginning, especially like Neil said, since COVID, you guys absolutely exploded online. And I think it's undoubtedly we can say that you have been at the forefront of future design and teaching future design. So it's actually an impressive work, and especially for us professionals, you really teach the best tools for the best designers. So congratulations for your journey. I also have to start off by saying that it's a very humbling experience to be receiving this award together with Ross and Michelle, and especially to be presenting after Michelle's, which has happened before. He's an architect that I really admire with a soul journey that is really inspiring for me. So to be presenting after his decades of lifetime achievements and work, it is humbling. And I'll be presenting my little infant 6 years of work that I hope makes justice to the cause. So, like Angélica was presenting, I am Mariana Capugueiro. I'm an architect. I'm from Portugal. I've been living in London for 10 years and working from London as well. I moved to London to join Zaha Hadid Architects. Afterwards, I joined Wild World for Metaverse, where I was lead architect and I was also art director. And I'm recently the founder of my own studio. I'm also a teacher. I've been teaching for 6 years, intensely teaching. I'm a public speaker, do loads of talks, podcasts, interviews, also jury, and all of this body of work that you're going to see is from the past 6 years of my life. So I always like to show my work from the point of view of a journey. I have a very short professional career. I have 6 years, extremely intense, because I made them happen like that. I think comes from my character. I did 10 years in academia, and I believe that was one of the reasons why I did so much afterwards. It was when I understood that my academia was 10 years and it was dragging. It was not dragging for the lack of energy. I was working my ass off in these 10 years, but it was dragging because I was not getting the knowledge that I knew I needed and that I knew that I could actually get. Afterwards, I joined Zaha, like I said. I joined Wild World. I did physical architecture. I did digital architecture. I understood that this was one of the recipes for me, doing design in architecture mainly. And I also understood that physical and digital will be as important as the traditional architecture in the physical environment. So that was a very clear career decision that I made for my life. And this took me to my last step for now, which is exactly where I am at now, which is my own studios with an F. So let's start the journey. And I always start from the academia days, especially my talks are usually for students. And even when it's not for students and if it's for professionals, I make sure to make it transparent that the things don't happen magically. They happen with hard work. For me specifically, they happen with a lot of sweat, with a lot of tears and joy and passion, and with a lot of no's, especially during your academia. So I was kind of a different student in Portugal, and I'm receiving the Portuguese award. So I'm pretty sure that it's bittersweet for them as well. So I was an unconventional student. I was not so confident about it. I always felt that I was the black sheep. I put a lot of energy in very different things from the environment around me. It was very different. And that took me to a point in my life after 10 years of studying that, 6 years at this point, I realized that the environment that I had back then in Portugal for architects and architecture, I did not really fit in that environment. And that's a very hard conclusion that you have to make when you study after 6 years and you develop your master's, understanding that you don't know enough for the type of architecture that you want to do after 6 years, and understanding that the country you have been raised and studying is not where architecture practice fits your architecture practice. You have to move abroad and move countries on your own, and it's powered by your own convictions in magic, in this case, of believing that you can do more and that you are more magically. So that's exactly what I did. I followed my instinct and I moved countries. I moved to London. I chased a very specific studio that was AADRL, Design Research Laboratory. It was, I can assume, my first very big step to where I am now and what I am today. So I joined DRL. It's a massive studio, design research. It's basically it basically teaches you the last 50 years of design in architecture. All the research that has been done that you don't get from a traditional school. And it was a very hardcore 1 year and a half. And it took me to the second very important step of my life, which was joining Zaha Hadid Architects. So at Zaha, I worked at Zaha for 5 years. I left as a senior architectural designer. I worked for a competition cluster, and then I followed one project till DD, till detailed design. And it was probably one of the biggest schools of my life, not, of course, for the skills, but actually not necessarily for the skills, but for the people that you meet, for understanding the business, for understanding management, for understanding what to do and what not to do. So it was a very big school for me, Zaha Hadid Architects. And I think from the journey that I did at Zaha, it's important to highlight the project that I am most proud of. And again, it's important to know that all of these projects are done in very big teams with very talented people and very talented designers. Definitely one of my biggest babies is the Navi Mumbai airport, which I had the amazing news that it will be built. And the column that you see here is probably what is closest to my heart from Zaha. It was a column that I designed, the Lotus column, that I designed very early on, and I saw a whole team making it happen. So it was a very emotional journey with the airport in Mumbai. And then definitely the last project that I was involved in, which was Tower C. And I joined the competition. We won the competition. I joined for completion a whole year and a half working with an amazing team, all in Chinese as well. And it was an important project for me because when I joined after competition and I was invited to join for completion, I knew it was going to be my last project as a deep down. And it was a year and a half before I left. But it was a very important project for me. It was Twin Towers. It is a very formal tower that fits into the environment, and that shows a hierarchy on the principles of bringing green and bringing public spaces into a tower. So 1/3 of this tower is actually public, and it's fully green and it's fully outdoors. And that was what I was responsible for actually in the last year. And it's something that I'm very proud of in the identity of this tower, is how important public spaces and green actually is in a Chinese city, which is Shenzhen. So this project was finished for a year and a half, and while I was at Zaha, another very important part of my journey was realizing that the tool that we run in offices is actually extremely important, as important as your design convictions. So the tool and the ability of running the tool in an office that is responsible for the DNA of that office, it's a deal breaker, and it's the make or break for you to join that office. And when I understood that the tool was Maya from Autodesk, and it's just a software, I understood the potential of it. I joined Zaha and I had a very low skill in Maya. My teacher at the DRL was rubbish, very bad. So when I joined, I was definitely the worst at using a tool. So imagine you are the worst at in a traditional office at sketching. You're definitely the worst. And this happens when you don't know the software. So that was my situation. And that's when I decided to work harder than everyone around me at that first year at Zaha, practice Maya every weekend after work, and I actually became quite good at it. And at that point, I realized and started an important journey for me, which was a teaching journey. And I realized that it was benefic for the office to receive high-skilled people, and it was extremely benefic for the students to have the perfect skills on the software that gets them hired, which is exactly what DigitalFUTURES does. It's exactly what it does do. So I went back to DRL and I offered myself as teacher. I worked as a volunteer teacher for the first 3 years and then 2 official. I started teaching online exactly at the same time as DigitalFUTURES. We started during the pandemic and it exploded, right? The classes exploded, and I was extremely proud for all the classes that I was teaching, all the projects I started creating just for fun and just for teaching. And that's when another important journey in my life started, which was a huge repertoire of projects that were done just for fun by me with fake deadlines, just to feed a huge monster that is called today social media and to teach. And this started getting more quality and increasing more quality, and I was putting more effort in each project. And in the end, I was actually creating a whole world of 3Ds and 3D environments. No one asked me to do it, but it was just growing at the same time as social media was growing and teaching online was growing. And I created a huge repertoire. I called it the cemetery of projects. They had no place to go. They were dead. But they were just feeding an algorithm and they were feeding my own portfolio. And this is where the first big conflict started in my life in 2021, let's say. And it's a conflict that's happening very often now with the young employees, and especially my generation. We have realized that we are actually good enough to do our own digital design outside of our office. And this is a very controversial topic, and it's actually very real, and it's time for offices to realize that we have a huge part of our life being run on a digital environment. And on digital environments, if we are talented and if we put enough energy, we get a lot of success to it. And I was split by two. I was very honestly split by two. And I was doing my physical projects as well, and then I was getting my own repertoire of projects that were going far and were receiving a very good reception digitally. And that's exactly when I was reached out by a metaverse company, American, called Wilder World. They are not metaverse companies, they're a Web3 company. Web3 means that they do NFTs, they do metaverse, they do everything that is related to Web3. They have a whole Web3 community. They reached me out to join as the lead architect of their own metaverse. Mind you, like you guys are, I was extremely skeptical about the metaverse. I was not on the trenches. I never thought I was going to join the metaverse trenches. I was just going to look it from far. And whenever I see it succeeding, I'll jump in, which of course now it's an infant metaverse concept. So I was taken back, and I was not sure if I should do it or not. And I was going to leave a very big family, which was Zaha. But I started analyzing what the metaverse was, and I knew this was the current scenario of the metaverse, which for an architect is goddamn depressing, right? It is extremely depressing for designers that design cities. This is like a fucking stab in your heart. When someone designs a city like this and it's meant to copy the cities that architects do on digital environments, you understand that something is wrong, right? So back in 2014, I wrote a very big thesis. It's online, theoretical thesis, 300 pages on the problem of society leaving the social spaces of the city to digital social spaces. And this was 2014. And I was very aware that architects were responsible for the community spaces. We were responsible to join communities. That's what the spaces are for us. And this is our privilege and our responsibility. And this was in 2014. I could tell that we were drifting apart, physical from digital. In 2020, it was very obvious that was what was happening on Web 2. Web 2 is our Twitter, Instagram, Google, Twitch, YouTube. What was happening on our Web 2 was this direct migration of the social environments to social arenas that are in 2D. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a very 6-hour, 4-hour online rate per week. And during that time, I'm socializing, right? That means that at least right now, I can tell that 70% of my social interactions are online. And that means that our social arenas, that the architect from Vitruvio, the first very big architect, from Italian architecture, from the plazas, it was gradually moving away from gathering physical spaces for gathering to a digital one. And the problem was the social issues that comes from our 2D environments, our Web 2, comes a lot from the way they were designed, right? This is something that we learned in our basic history of art. The way you design spaces conditions the way you socialize. And the way our main spaces are being designed right now are Web 2 spaces. It is conditioning how the users are interacting. And when you see the architects being replaced by these designers, they are literally just graphic designers with no background on social spaces and physical and 3D spaces. You could predict that the ones who are going to design the 3D spaces are going to be graphic designers. And you could also predict that the same way we interact on Web 2 spaces, social spaces, will be no different from the way we are going to interact on 3D spaces, even if they are digital. And they are being designed by graphic designers, game designers, movie designers. What do? They copy from ours, from the past. And that's one of the reasons why I felt this is going to explode for architects. I hope society realizes that this is a job for architects. I might as well just jump in now and help guiding these thoughts that it should be your architect's responsibility as well. So that was one of the reasons why I left Zaha and I joined Wilderworld. I knew that I would have to have these two knowledges from the physical world by the expert Zaha to the digital world by the experts Wilderworld, and then do my own. So that's when I started Wilderworld, knowing that I would leave and do my own later on. So I joined as lead architect 2022. I was art director 2023. And my art direction and my vision for Wilderworld was always within that concept of high fidelity metaverse. This is something that we are hoping that will come, not the cartoonish, not the gaming metaverse, but the high fidelity one. And this is something that Wilderworld is very proud of. And my vision was always to bring in nature and nature spaces to digital environments. Even being digital nature, I believe that nature has an impact on our soul and on our energy, even if it's not palpable and it's not physical. So I brought out the concept of nature, digital nature, peace, and fluidity for the whole year that I worked at Wilderworld. I started a very long journey of doing talks about metaverse for architects. I understood that the best person to be teaching metaverse to architects is someone who is in the metaverse trenches, so which I am. So I started doing very big talks for architects and architects professionals, showing you how can you be part of, in very practical terms. Do you want to do real estate? Do you want to have project commission? Do you want to do twin cities? Do you want to just do AR? And where, which is the biggest question for architects. So where do I put it? This is what everyone asks. So as an expert in this topic, what do I consider to be the best metaverse platforms right now for high fidelity, for the type of renders that we like? So all of this became a very big journey that I'm doing. I'm still there, doing talks all around the world about this topic and teaching us on how not to lose this train. Obviously, at the same time, I was stopped teaching tutorials of how to design, and I started teaching, giving tutorials on how to be part of the metaverse for students, for the new generation. It comes like seamlessly to these new kids. For them, it's a very natural transition. So I started teaching 3 very big studios on this. How do you transition from the from the physical architecture to the digital one? And it became like a quite big studio, very successful one. I'm very proud of it. I hope that it picks up on other teachers. So we start hybridizing our practice, and it actually comes with a very big finance profit, apart from everything else. So then it came to this point last month. I finished my digital journey at Wilderworld. I think I concluded it as complete. I finished my journey at Zaha a year ago, and I think I became quite fit to start what is an hybridized practice of architecture, which I believe to be something that will be very natural and very seamless in the future for architectural offices, which is the hybridized practice of design in architecture for physical environments, for digital environments. And I truly believe that it will be powered by AI. And that does not mean Midjourney, that does not mean AI as like the candy images that we like to do in AI, but they are very powerful advantages on using AI for NVIDIA, NPCs, and so on. So right now, this is exactly where I'm at. I'm launching it, starting it, and it's a very interesting and exciting journey ahead. So guys, thank you for your word. It's very, very rewarding to be having something so early in my life, in my professional career, and with all the hard work that I put in my everyday life, receiving an award after 6 years of starting, it's actually very humbling, and obrigada, a sério, significa muito para mim.
Muito obrigada, Mariana. It's really great to have you here. Really, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Now we will call our next team, the Arabic team.
Yes. So, hi everyone. أهلا بكم في Digital Futures بالعربي.
My name is Reem Shaheen. I'm here as a Digital Futures Arabic language manager, and I'm here on the behalf of the Arabic team. So here in the Arabic team, we aim to carry forward the vision of Digital Futures and to use the Arabic region, the language, and its people as a driver to share knowledge in the fields of architecture, art, design. And we're here together as a team composed of Ahmed Hassab, Maaz Magdi, Anas Muhammad, Sarah Faraun, and myself, Reem Shaheen. It's an honor for us to be here together on this remarkable journey where we've come across a lot of influencers, designers, and visionaries in the field of architecture and its related disciplines. And through the past 2 years, we have managed to reach out and conduct different workshops, talks, exhibitions, and tutorials coming from different parts of this Arab world. And even though we come from different countries in the Arab region, but we've managed to create this environment to bring together different people, vibrant communities, and to share knowledge within this Arab region. So thank you for being here with us on this journey. And as we like to say in Arabic, that only together we can just conquer mountains. So if we move next to the video. Yeah. So this video shows some snippets of our successful workshops that happened in the summer. And we've conducted 6 different remarkable workshops that range from parametrics, AI, space, and multiple different topics in the field. And here I would like to very much thank our instructors that put in all the time and effort to teach these workshops and have came out with those remarkable and impressive outcomes with their students. And to thank the team for putting all the effort and dedication and make this happen. Yeah. So today is a huge pleasure to introduce to you the distinguished Digital Futures Arabic Award winner, Dr. Hana Dahi. And let me tell you, Dr. Hana is not just an architect or an engineer, but Dr. Hana is an inventor. She's also a visionary developer. Her passion for sustainable architecture and building solutions has led her journey in excellence and innovation. Dr. Dahi founded the groundbreaking Biomat at Copenhagen Research Center at Aalborg University that is situated within the planning department at Tech. And this main achievement came after her successful Biomat department at Stuttgart, Germany, which started in 2016, and also her years of dedication to the architecture practice in Cairo since 2003. Dr. Dahi holds various and diverse patents. She's internationally registered in the EU region in Germany, USA, Malaysia, and the Arabic region. These are just a reflection of her remarkable works in harnessing the potential of natural fibers, biomass, and its applications in architecture practice. Her visionary design and philosophy, which I personally also believe in, materials as a design tool. Dr. Dahi has definitely unlocked the transformative power of these alternative materials, digital fabrications, and optimized geometric constellations through parametric computational design. This has allowed her to conceive and fabricate innovative and sustainable solutions and products. She has definitely earned numerous awards and has left a mark on the architecture and the sustainable field in the Middle East, North Africa, Europe, and through numerous impactful projects. So join me here today to celebrate the remarkable achievements and contributions of Dr. Hana Dahi in the field. You have definitely paved the path for future sustainable innovation in architecture. So congratulations, Dr. Hana, and I'd love to leave the floor for you.
Thanks a lot. Sorry, for some reason it didn't want to share. Many thanks for the very nice words, and many thanks for all the Digital Future teams for this honor. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Allow me to share the screen. I hope it functions now and that you can all see it.
Looks great.
Great, thanks a lot. So let me start from the beginning and get you a bit by bit.
Excuse me, doctor, can you make it full screen, please?
I guess it is. That's very weird. It is not yet.
No, still not full screen.
That's very weird. Okay, this functioning. Let me try it. Now? Is it?
No, it's not, but I think we can just keep going for flow if it's better.
Okay, just for the last. Let me try this one. Is it?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it happens. So allow me to present a bit of what is meant here by materials as a design tool. And again, thanks a lot for for this very nice honor for the Digital Futures and for Niall and the great team all over the globe. It's really an honor to be there with you today. So as you see, I'm like a grasshopper hopping between 3 cities, Stuttgart, Copenhagen, and Cairo, definitely, where I'm coming from. And let me go through a bit quickly of what is the input here, or what's the philosophy behind trying as good as possible with a positive intention to make the future better for our kids and grandchildren, maybe. So the idea here is to try to see what kind of resource we have. And the resource is just a synonym. So materials or resource just means the same thing. And when we talk about materials, we mean we just see what we have in land, depending on where we are and how far we as architects take the responsibility further, not only as designers, but also as makers, and trying to make this happen in the form of understanding how does a material work and how this could present an input in the design process and what kinds of fabrication systems exist, including digital fabrication technologies, definitely, and also, for sure, digital tools when it comes to design. So we go in a bottom-up approach in what we call materials as a design tool. And from this, the philosophy of Biomet existed. It started first at the University of Stuttgart and then went further to Copenhagen and a company. So the Biomet at Copenhagen Research Center is at the Aalborg University in Denmark, and the office is now of Biomet in Stuttgart. But again, I'm from Cairo and will always be, and that's why I'm so happy that this honor is also related to the Arabic world. I'm a graduate of architecture from the Architectural Engineering School, actually engineering school in the Ain Shams University. And there I was able to get the bachelor's in the field of architectural engineering. And the idea of engineering here means a lot because it helped understanding a lot of the engineering sciences and fields. And that's why it made a big difference to me later when I moved to Germany and also when I'm teaching in Denmark and in many parts of the world, understanding also other scopes and fields that could make a difference when I'm having at the very end the architectural point of view, but how to get the benefit of other fields of the engineering fields back to help us architects. So it started a bit earlier in Cairo back, seeing what you can see here in this photo, burning out straw. Like it's known that originally Egypt is considered an agricultural country, later industrial as well. But generally speaking, the agricultural fields were burned all around whenever we have after the rice agricultural season. And then seeing this originally in around Cairo, Giza maybe, there was such a phenomenon called black cloud, which is known in Arabic as al-Sahaba Suda. And for me and many others, this was something suffocating, of course. But then afterwards, when I decided to get along in that field and to dip dig in further and see how as an architect, how could I have ever an input to that? Then I realized that in fact, it's just 2% of the global problem. There is a disaster going on environmentally all around the world. You see here 4 photos from 4 different continents, and it doesn't matter if this is a developing or a developed country. It just happens that because of a certain problem in the agricultural field, there is a waste management disaster taking place, which is that it is literally gold being burned because we have a resource in a different field, which is here different than the building industry. They are burning it, but we need resources in our field back. If we see the numbers and what kind of problems do we have in the building industry. So it is burned out in the US, in China, Chile, Spain, and many others for sure. So looking back into what kind of industries are way further than us, I'm just not talking about the social aspects. I'm here talking about the making, fabrication only. Because in architecture, it's not only doing. We have so many things to take care of, social, cultural, political, and many further aspects where the human is centered. But here I'm talking about the making when it comes to making a building component. So looking at aircraft, automotives, automation technologies, and many others, it's happening in other industries but us. And looking what happens, in fact, in other industries where the design space is changed differently to a fabrication setup, and then all the parameters is fed in back into the design process. And in that case, that means that we could use this or think differently as architects and not take the whole idea of design as linear, but rather circular, which means that we do not then define a geometry and then first very late in the fabrication and construction process, think about what type of material would we use. Rather, we see what kind of resources we have and what kind of material properties, and then see the structural analysis and get this informing the geometry and forwarding this to the construction site. So that caused another potential and understanding that we have a lot as architects to give to our industry, way more than what we have at the moment. And that this started the idea of getting a material, moving in the process till we get a full product, which is the building. In between, of course, as architects, we do care about the user, and he is at the end or she is in the center of our design process. But we are trying to understand furthermore in a multidisciplinary approach, integrating material engineers, structural engineers, already from the stage 0, from the stage of design. And all of this, what you see, are like one-to-one scale buildings that are made from bio-based materials, special kinds of materials called natural fiber reinforced polymer composites, which is having a very short word of biocomposites. And to take you the journey, this is my own development or invention, which is patented around the world in many lands. And it's basically a fiber board. That is a dream for us as architects, designers, to just bend in all directions. But what is composed of? It's composed of recycled straw fibers with a very high content, till 90% by weight. And it was possible to pack it with an elastomer to bend it in all directions and have the possibility to make whatever kind of design we want. It started by making small furniture pieces, then larger furniture pieces, and then full-scale construction systems of a span of 10 meters and a height till 3.5 meters. It started by this one-to-one scale pavilion in 2018, and it went further in the processes of upscaling and how to understand creating or the creation from a material to a building. And of course, disciplines were all invited, including, for instance, geodesy colleagues who helped in the construction, because constructing these types of buildings are not common, are not classical or conventional. We had to 3D laser scan the whole building and compare it to our model in every step and see what are the deviations. And we did have many talks, collaborations, and lately also a publication about this. So you see here how the process starts, starting with a material, research. I don't know why it is not moving. Yeah, I guess it is now. So this is how it started. The development of this special type of material was done, and this was given to as an idea, and the whole know-how was given to my students. And there was a kind of competition to see how far we can get a structure system based on the idea of knowing the material properties and what this material can really do after developing the material and knowing that this is the type of material we want to use. And then going in the process and then upscaling after making many tests and seeing what exactly this material can do. It was possible to produce more than 360 pieces of those legs that you see here on the screen through vacuum processing. And we had only 4 molds. So we designed as efficient and clever as possible and tried in our model to reduce the molds that we needed to use. And then in summer 2018, it was possible to have this shell through having first 4 different parts. And this took a whole year of work, including design, fabrication, and construction. And it lasted for 6 months to show it to the public as a communication vehicle. And then afterwards, we tried as good as possible to see also further technologies, further resources, including flax and hemp fibers, and applied a different fabrication technology, which is here called tailored fiber placement, where we place the fibers where we exactly need it through this machine that is originally used in the textile industry and the aircraft industry. And as you see here in this video, it is seen how the resource exists and how it turns into something that we call semi-finished product, which is the product that we can handle in the form of yarns or in the form of these hairy substances. And then this is all feeded in our design process, and then we get to flatten our design and then change it to layers. And according to the size of the machine, we cut off this into smaller pieces, and then we gather everything together after we stitch it. So here you see something called bobbing. So this bobbing small thing is linked to the head of the machine. And here it was a machine that belonged at that time to the Institute of Aircraft Design in Stuttgart. And then we applied the lines exactly. I mean, we originated from our Rhino data to CAD data to move it to the machine further. What is the language that the machine understands? And then we made these ready pieces. And then we put everything in a mold, only one side of a mold, and applied a system that is a bit similar, or actually exactly similar to boat industry. So again, another industry that helped in the process. And getting to know how this is done in other, we try to get it back in our building industry to get good use of it. So this is the making of it. Further work came and further fabrication techniques like pultrusion. That's a process known for the textile industry, and how to make profiles. And we made something which is a hollow profile that we tried as good as possible to use it just like bamboo, to bend it and use the stored energy in to build with it in a structure system called bending active structures. And it had a span of 10 meters and a height up to 5 meters. This was the opening in 2021. So you see here how the rovings are guided in very small holes, and then the profiles are got out of it. And then we use this profile to bend, and it was seen what is the maximum bending that we could ever get. And those exactly were the input in the design process. And then we had 3 major beams, and every beam was composed of 2 of those rods. And then in between, we had a cross beam construction system, and it was covered by a membrane, as you see. Then we tried to include adaptivity and smartness, and we made facade systems also with the biocomposites. But then we included triggers that can help in allowing shading according to the sun, either the sun rotation, as you see here, or as further triggering aspects. And as well, got the idea of how to include the robotic assembly and including grippers as like gripper, as the gripper position is the input in the design process in that case. So we also included the possibility of adapting automation as an input in our design context. Also further projects, there are many, many projects. I'll try to wrap it up, including also an idea of vertical farming. This is a current project where we were invited to be integrated, to integrate an already existing vertical farming system that is rotating. Also, again, about locality, to get the user his own local fruits and vegetables in the building, and to include this by allowing more energy efficient system, and how to allow this in already existing buildings and in new buildings. And the biggest project we had is the bridges, a project called Smart Circular Bridge. Here you see an already existing bridge completely out of biocomposites. What you see here in gray, that's not concrete, that's a biocomposite. But unfortunately, the city of Almere in Netherlands, they wanted it coated by this gray color. So this was opened last year in 2022 in Almere in Netherlands. And this is the design. And of course, the design was a contribution also from the fabricator and from the structural engineers from the Technical University of Eindhoven. And this is, you see, that's the crane, only one crane moving the whole 15-meter span body of the bridge. And all those people, we are just the partners, no external ones in this photo, but you see how many people were there to allow this to happen, making a full bridge out of biocomposites, and that's a durable bridge. This is not temporary. And the coming bridges in Ulm, next to the cathedral, and that's the design process, what I'm designing. And you see, of course, how the idea of winding and how to fabricate is already a part of the design process. That's the design that within a couple of months, this bridge should stand in the city of Ulm. And also 3D printing is part of our work. So we start always small, as you see. We 3D printed bioplastics and timber rest that are recycled. And as soon as we are sure of that process, that it has a structural capacity, we turned larger into making a column. And this was exhibited and open to the public this year, as the Biomed Studios were invited to go to the Biennale, which also was a great honor, of course. So you can for sure have a visit. We are in Palazzo Moro in the first floor next to the Norman Foster's exhibition that lies in the city center. And of course, you're very welcome to visit till November. So this is just a quick view of the work. And also another exhibition, but this is in South Germany taking place with the IBA, which is the International Building Exhibition for the Adaptive Systems of Biocomposites. But then to conclude everything, the idea here is that from my point of view and all the team, we're trying as good as possible to give a high impact, as high as possible, to how architects could change the future of the building industry. It is our problem that we're facing a huge issue when it comes to the global carbon dioxide emissions, energy consumption, waste production, resource consumption. And I believe that we have to change this by our own and do not wait for the building companies or the constructors or the material producers to make this for us. And this could only happen as good as possible when we include this within the design process from the beginning. So by this, the city will change a lot, and we will be able to include our own developments and materials from the start. This is just some sketches to give you an idea, what does this mean at the end to the current architecture, and what are we through already? All of those products that we have done, including a bridge, which is a product like a construction, and how all this could be integrated in a full scale, and how does this mean to the architectural community and to the architecture generally today and tomorrow. That's all for now. Thanks a lot for listening.
Neil, are you going to make the introduction?
No, I think Arturo is.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me properly now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, sorry, Ross Lavrov cannot be here today, so I'm humbly proud to accept the Digital Futures International Award on behalf of Ross Lavrov today. My name is Arturo Tedeschi. I'm an architect and computational designer based in Milano. I was lucky enough to collaborate with Ross since 2015 on several projects, from footwear to automotive, art installations, and so many industrial design projects. I actually want to share with you some words that they should have been a kind of introduction to the important contribution of Ross Lavrov in the world of design, architecture, and in general in the world of in the creative world. A famous architect used to say that when he was genuinely interested in a person, he would do everything to visit his house. As the private space reveals essential details not easily noticeable in the public sphere. So over the years, I've been fortunate enough to visit Ross Lavrov Studio House in London as a friend and also as a colleague. And I can say that his space revealed a kind of seamless continuity between, the man, his ideas, and his creations. From my standpoint, the best way to know someone is through his or her vocabulary. I carefully always try to capture it during conversations or listening to interviews and lectures or reading texts. And among the words that you can register in a conversation with Lavrov, you will find words like intelligence, evolution, generation, or convergence. In other ways, you won't find the usual words that maybe designers usually, use in their lectures or talk. You will never hear something like, details or models. Of course, these are not the only ones, but they are certainly among the most significant. And I will say that they tell us that Ross' theoretical and operational horizon has never been limited to the mere problem solving. Instead, his research extends to a broader, more sophisticated and profound dimension. Like all great visionaries, Lavrov has been able not only to anticipate, but mainly to shape the major aesthetic revolution we are all witnessing nowadays. He made it through drawings, sketches, prototypes, applied research, and of course, iconic projects. Even today, some cutting-edge digital technologies, struggle to reproduce the complexity of some forms that Ross conceived sometimes without the use of computer. I think, for instance, to the trilobal table project, where the concept of liquid metal, something that now it's highly explored, for example, in AI-generated images, at that time was translated into a real, object almost 20 years ago. So for Ross, even a simple furniture like a table or a chair becomes a testing ground for new materials or manufacturing techniques. Let me share the screen for a second. About 10 years ago, I had the privilege of working with Ross on the iLabo shoes, for example, the first project we worked together, where the design of footwear was approached innovatively, treating it more like the construction of a building rather than a small-scale artifact. So Ross symbolically altered the scale of the project, as well as the vocabulary, again, underlying that experience, that design experience, that was defined by terms such as gravity, grids, structural minimum, external and internal skin. And that was a great lesson that I carry with me and I constantly apply to my projects. So today we are here to celebrate Ross Lovegrove because now more than ever we need guides, we need masters capable of reformulating the imagery, the overall vision, able to go beyond the trends, beyond the technical problem solving. We need to shape new paradigms rather than just images, model, or objects. So thank you so much, Ross, and thanks, Neil, for this prize, again, on behalf of Ross Lovegrove. Thank you so much, everybody.
Grazie a tu, grazie.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Your screen, yes.
Okay, perfect. So good day, everyone, and welcome to Digital Futures 2023 International Closing Ceremony. I'm Sina Mustafavi, Associate Professor at Texas Tech University. It is an honor for me to be given the opportunity to introduce the Farsi section of Digital Futures on behalf of the amazing team of Digital Futures and present the 2023 recipient for the Digital Futures Farsi Award. So since 2021, the Farsi section of Digital Futures has been dedicated to uniting both established and upcoming scholars, designers, and researchers with the common goal of democratically sharing their expertise and knowledge within the Farsi-speaking community and beyond that internationally. Furthermore, alongside the Farsi lecture series, a set of workshops has been regularly organized during the annual Digital Futures event, including this year, 2023, with the aim of disseminating digital design and fabrication expertise among the Farsi-speaking community and internationally. So, and this year, it is with immense excitement that we introduce you the winners of Digital Futures Farsi Award 2023, Katrina Spiridonov and Reza Daneshmir, the founders of Fluid Motion Architects. They established a firm in 2004 in Tehran, and since then, their projects have showcased the influence of digital modeling and a profound sense of free-form and non-standard design for better integration of buildings in their diverse contexts. As one of the pioneering architectural firms in Iran, they have embraced digital modeling not merely as a means to establish formal language, but also with a strong emphasis on motion, building circulation, and configuration. Their approach, as can be seen in their early work, spans various scales, encompassing from small scale gallery spaces to large cultural complex buildings. And we are looking forward to hear more about their more recent projects. Again, I'm truly humbled to present this award to this year Digital Futures Farsi Award, Katrin Spiridonov and Reza Danashmir, founders of Fluid Motion Architects. And I would also like to take this chance to speak in Farsi with our Farsi speaking community. افتخار بزرگیه برای من که برندگان امسال جایزه دیجیتال فیوچر فارسی رو معرفی میکنم. خانم کاترین اسپیردونوف و رضا دانشمیر. آقای رضا دانشمیر بنیانگذاران مهندسین مشاور حرکت سیال. فکر میکنم که این لکچر بخشی به فارسی و بخشی به انگلیسی خواهد بود و بسیار خوشحال و خرسندیم که آقای رضا دانشمیر رو داریم در این لکچر که برای ما کارهای مهندسین مشاور حرکت سیال رو به اشتراک میذارن. من stop میکنم. I'm gonna stop sharing and probably Reza Daneshmir can share his screen.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you have my voice? Okay.
Yes, we do.
فایلمو چجوری شد؟ Okay, thank you. I want to share my file.
فکر کنم شما کانکتین؟
آره من
background effect. We had your screen once, but it was unshared again. یه لحظه داشتیم اسکرینتون رو ولی قطع شد دوباره.
فایل پاورپوینت رو چجوری میتونم الان باز کنم اینجا؟ باید برم توی
پاورپوینتتون بیاریم ببینیم اسکرینتون دارم بپرسم.
الان اسکرینتون
نداریم. We don't have your screen. We had your screen once, but it's got disconnected. Now, yeah. دکمه سبز رو میزنین یا قبول نمیکنین؟
آها screen. Okay, start.
We don't have the screen yet.
Might be an idea to put the video off to get a better connection.
ویدیوتون رو میخواین آف بکنین و فقط اسکرین رو شیر بکنین. فکر کنم اگه ویدیو یا تصویر خودتون رو آف بکنین.
الان ویدیوتون ویدیوتون آفه و اینجا
screen start broadcast. خب نمیاد.
میگه که داری شیر میکنی. خب حالا
دارین الان؟
بله. Yeah, we had it. Yeah. الان نداره.
ببند دوباره. آها. الان.
Yes, we have it.
It looks great.
Okay.
میتونین شروع بکنین. بله.
Hello, my name is Reza Ganeshmir, and I'm happy to be here with you. I would like to thank Award. Currently, my partner, Katrin Spiridonov, is not here in Iran and could not attend this meeting. So I present this file. The beginning of our office coincided with the beginning of the 21st century. So the issue of digital technology and its capabilities in creating complex structures formed a part of our architectural point was the relationship between architecture and the city and how an architectural project can be present in today's big cities and be effective. As a metropolis in the Middle East region, Tehran has special geographical and structural features. From the very beginning, the issue of the relationship between complex architectural projects and the contemporary city has been one of the issues that we paid attention to and were interested in working in that field and wanted to be influential. Examples of the work we have done in this centered in the city. Therefore, both the problem of complex structures and the problem of working with large metropolis led us to public projects, and the issue of people's relationship with them was the main point in our work. Now, the main question of architecture was how it is possible for an architectural project to have an active relationship with the city and not become a closed object. Therefore, the influence of the city in it has been the main architectural question in these years. The goal of turning the architectural project into an energy field is to influence, or even beyond the field of its location, as well to activate environmental forces and create new perspectives for the audience. In this way, if explained, these energy fields in different parts of contemporary large cities will meet the needs of citizens in every part of the city and will have significant effects in the health of the city and citizens. خب من خیلی خوشحالم که در خدمتتون هستم و خیلی ممنونم بابت این جایزه با ارزش. موضوعی که ما در حقیقت در این سالها دنبال می‌کردیم از دو بخش تشکیل شده. یک بخش مسئله تکنولوژی، مسئله شهر. اینکه چطور ممکنه که معماری به نوعی یک جور رابطی باشه بین این دوتا و بتونه فضاهایی رو به وجود بیاره در جهت استفاده حداکثری برای مردم. پروژه‌های متعددی رو ما در این سالها آزمایش کردیم، بعضیش رو موفق شدیم که اجرا کنیم، بعضی‌ها هم برای ما امکان پذیر نبود و که پیش ببریم. ولی در این بین من علاقه داشتم که 3 تا پروژه رو با شما در میون بذارم.
We lost your screen now. Screenتون از دست دادیم.
الان داریم؟
No, we lost your screen. اگر دوباره بس بشه نمیشه.
الان داریم؟
Yes, we do.
اوکی. 3 تا پروژه رو انتخاب کردم که برای شما ارائه کنم. اولیش پردیس سینمایی ملت که مربوط میشه به سالهای 2003 تا 2008 در تهران. موقعیتش در پارک ملت هست. پارک ملت یک پارک بسیار پاپولاره در شهر تهران و با توجه به وسعتش که خیلی هم بزرگ نیست ولی علاقمندان زیادی رو داره. زمین پروژه هم در ضلع جنوب غربی بود. یه منطقه‌ای بود که متروک بود و در اون زمان شهرداری علاقمند بود که با این رو دوباره فعال بکنه. از زمین کردیم. خب فرمش فرم در حقیقت ارگانیک بود. بنابراین به این فکر کردیم که چطور ممکنه که یک ساختاری رو به وجود بیاریم که بتونه خودش رو با اون محیط یا اون موقعیت هماهنگ. فکر می‌کردیم روی احجامی که بتونن با تغییر شکل خودشون فضاهای پرخالی رو ایجاد بکنن. این یکی از اون دیاگرام هایی که روش کار می‌کردیم و با توجه به توپوگرافی که خود این دیاگرام داشت احساس کردیم که این میتونه برای سالن‌های سینما مناسب باشه و بنابراین اینو اپلای کردیم به پروژه. یه مقدار روش کار کردیم و برنامه‌ها و فضاهای مورد نیاز رو در داخل اون قرار دادیم. بنابراین به یک وضعیتی رسیدیم که نشون میداد که 2 تا سالن سینما روی زمین میتونیم داشته باشیم، 2 تا هم زیر زمین و بقیه فضاها هم پیرامونش. یه فضایی هم برای رستوران و فضای اینترتینمنت در طبقه بالا. نکته اصلی فضای خالی بود که میتونستیم در سطح زمین به وجود بیاریم و این در حقیقت شد پوینت اصلی پروژه و ما سعی کردیم این رو دیولپ کنیم. این موضوعی بود که خیلی بهش علاقه داشتیم، یعنی که چطور ممکنه که شما یک استراکچری رو دیزاین بکنی با یک پروگرام عمومی که همه مردم بتونن ازش استفاده بکنن، اما در این حال فضاهایی رو هم بتونه ایجاد بکنه فراتر از پروگرامی که براش خوشبختانه موفق شدیم تولید بکنیم. همین فضای ایوان بزرگ ورودی یک چیزی در یه مساحتی حدود 1000 متر مربع داره و مردم میتونن از داخل ساختمون عبور بکنن بدونی که حتی وارد مجموعه سینمایی بشن، یا احیانا اگر اومدن و فیلمی رو دیدن بعد از فیلم حتی این فضا مناسب بود برای برگزاری مراسم متعدد. در داخل پروژه هم سعی کردیم که از همین ساختار توپوگرافیک که در خارج هست استفاده بکنیم برای اینکه بتونیم یک سیستم خیلی روان و راحتی رو برای سیرکولیشن در داخل پروژه ایجاد بکنیم. نکته دیگه‌ای که خیلی برای ما مهم بود این بود که معمولا سینماها یک فضاهای تاریک و بسته‌ای هستند، فضای انتظاری رو دارن و بعد ما وارد خود بخش اصلی سالن میشیم، بعدش هم که فیلم رو دیدیم از سالن خارج میشیم. اینجا ما اون فضاهای اصلی یا سالن‌های سینما رو در درون یک جدن در حقیقت برعکس آن چیزی که تا به حال اتفاق افتاده عمل بکنیم، یعنی سینما رو به صورت یک آبجکت شیشه‌ای در نظر بیاریم. بنابراین خود مراجعه کننده ها و مردمی که از این رمپ ها حرکت میکنن و بالا پایین میرن، برای کسایی که بیرون از ساختمون هستن یک حالت نمایشی رو به وجود بیارن، انگار که اینها هنرپیشه‌هایی هستن که دارن در ریل تایم اینها ایده های متعددی بود که سعی کردیم دنبال بکنیم. این دیاگرامی که این رابطه رو توضیح میده، رابطه فضای خالی در سطح زمین و این رابطه فضای حرکتی که پیرامون اون هسته تاریک مرکزی هست و پروژه رو از یک باکس ساده تبدیل میکنه به یک آکواریوم. این فرم فاینال پروژه هست. با توجه به اینکه این بخش از پارک یعنی ضلع جنوبی پارک قبلا متروک بود، فرم خود ساختمان و رابطه‌ای که بین اون و زمین ایجاد شده بود که یه رابطه جدیدی بود از نحوه نشستن ساختمان روی زمین، این امکان رو فراهم کرد که مثل یک دروازه ورودی هم برای این بخش پارک عمل بکنه. همچنین این فضا قابلیت استفاده برای مراسم مختلف رو هم داشت و مثل یک ایونت اسپیس عمل میکرد. یعنی انگار که انواع اقسام مراسم رو میتونستن اینجا فراهم براش در واقع برنامه‌ریزی بکنن و ازش استفاده بکنن. صحبت میکنم پروژه مسجد ولیعصر بود که از سال 2008 تا 2018 روی این پروژه ما کار کردیم. یه پروژه خیلی چالنجینگ بود برای ما و هنوز هم در حقیقت حل نشده این مسئلهش در تهران و در بین مردم و هی در مرکز شهر تهران در تقاطع خیابون انقلاب و خیابون ولیعصر و در ضلع جنوب تئاتر شهر در کنار پارک دانشجو. یه موقعیت بسیار کلیدی. این لکه‌های رنگی رو که می‌بینید اینها مؤسسات آموزش عالی مثل دانشگاه تهران، دانشگاه امیرکبیر و انواع اقسام مؤسسات دیگه، دسته کتاب فروشی‌های دانشگاه تهران، تالار وحدت، تئاتر شهر و فضای فرهنگی اینچنینی هستند. بنابراین نشون میده که این زون یک زون فرهنگی با قابلیت بسیار بالاست و اینکه رو به عنوان یک فضای مذهبی تعریف بکنیم از اهمیت بسیار بالایی برخوردار بود. موقعیت پروژه رو می‌بینیم. یکی از نکات بسیار مهم این بود که زمین این پروژه در یک فاصله نزدیکی از تئاتر شهر قرار داشت و بنابراین مسئله همجواری این دو ساختمان یکی از نکات کلیدی و نکات عمده برای طراحی معماری برای ما بود. البته قبلا برای این پروژه یک پروژه‌ای رو طراحی کرده بودن، یک مسجدی با در حقیقت المان‌های سنتی و تعدادی از هنرمندان اعتراض کردند که مسجد طراحی شده با توجه به ارتفاع بلندی که حدود 50 متر داشت تناسبی با پروژه تئاتر شهر نداشت و خواسته بودن که شهردار اون رو متوقف بکنه و بازنگری بشه در طرح. بنابراین به ما رجوع کردن و از ما خواستن که یه فکری بکنیم. پیشنهاد ما این بافت منطقه باشه و اون رو با تراز تئاتر شهر هماهنگ کردیم که بتونه یک بدنه شهری رو ایجاد بکنه. همچنین پیشنهاد دیگه این بود که با توجه به اینکه ساختمون در نزدیک پارک دانشجو هم هست، اون قسمتی که در مجاور پارک بیاد به زمین برسه و امتدادی بشه از فضای پارک و کل در حقیقت سقف به عنوان نمای پنجم خودش رو معرفی بکنه و در امتداد پارک قرار بگیره، مثل یک گنبدی که باز شده رو راجبش فکر می‌کردیم که از دو بخش مقعر و محدب تشکیل شده. بخش مقعرش این امکان رو داشتیم فکر می‌کردیم که بتونه پذیرای مردم باشه، یعنی مردم بتونن بیان روی اون استراحت کنن، بشینن و در مواقعی که احیانا فضا یا زمانهای مذهبی هست تئاتر و مسجد با هم کار بکنن. اگر یک نمایش مذهبی هست مثل تعزیه در محوطه باز اجرا بشه، فرض کنید در زمانی که حالا هوا خوب است که مثلا نزدیک 6-7 ماه هوا در تهران هوای مساعده و این امکان فراهم بشه که مردم در فضای باز بتونن این نمایش ها رو ببینن. این در حقیقت نشون میده با خود سکوی تئاتر شهر و اینکه اینجا میتونه یک فضای تئاتر روباز باشه برای مجموعه که خب میتونست پروژه رو فراتر از مکانی که داره در واقع کاربردهای دیگه براش به وجود بیاره، همچنین با اون مجموعه تئاتر شهر و پارک دانشجو پیوند بده. این یک تصویری از ساختمان اجرا شده هست، البته با تغییراتی. خب ما سقف پروژه رو می‌بینیم که خیلی نرم آمده به زمین نزدیک شده. البته بعداً مخالفت کردن با اینکه مردم بتونن برن روی سقف و اینجا یه دیواری رو اومدن خودشون اجرا کردن. ما هر چقدر که مخالفت کردیم قبول نکردن. الان این دیوار 3 متری است که حالا امیدواریم در یه شرایط بهتری بشه این دیوار رو برداشت، چون الانم معضلات زیادی رو به وجود آورده خود همین احداث بدون فکر این دیوار و سبب جمع شدن آب در این گوشه میشه در زمانی که حالا زمستونه یا پاییزه و یه مقدار به فضای داخلی آسیب زده. ما خواهش کردیم این دیوار رو بردارن و این امکان رو فراهم بکنن که مردم ازش استفاده بکنن. با توجه به اینکه در قسمت زیر این شیب فضاهای عمومی مثل لابی و کلاس‌های آموزشی و فضاهای تأسیساتی هست و در واقع ارتباطی به فضاهای مذهبی نداره، در حقیقت این نمیتونه مشکلی هم داشته باشه از لحاظ در حقیقت اصول مذهبی. این سقف پروژه هست. این شکاف‌ها نورهایی رو برای فضای داخلی فراهم میکنه که این امکان رو فراهم کرده که در طی روز بدون اینکه هیچ چراغی روشن باشه فضای داخلی مسجد کاملا فضای مطبوع و قابل استفاده‌ای باشه. خب در سیوینگ انرژی صرفه‌جویی قابل توجهی شده، همچنین تهویه و همه این موضوعات رو در واقع سعی کردیم به نوع فکر شده‌ای انجام بدیم، در عین اینکه این قسمت فوکال پوینتش در بخش عبادتگاهش هست و یک حالتی از یک گنبد باز شده رو اینجا میتونیم ازش ادراک بکنیم. نکات دیگه‌ای که بود مسئله ورودی ها بود از سمت خیابون اصلی که خیابون ولیعصر هست در ضلع غربی و از سمت تئاتر شهر که ما یک کوچه‌ای رو تعریف کردیم که این کوچه به نرمی بتونه هدایت بکنه مردم رو به داخل. کوچه به فضای داخلی متصل نیست، یک نوع فضای نیمه داخلی نیمه خارجیه، یک گالریه که هدف اصلی این بود که نمازگزاران یا کسانی که میخوان بیان از مسجد استفاده بکنن و در فضای پرهیاهوی شهر هستن اونها رو وارد یک فضایی بکنه که این فضا یک فیلتر فضای آرام و معنوی باشه و اون جریان پرهیاهو و شلوغ شهر. برای این منظور هم این کوچه رو شما میبینید انگار که یه فیلتریه بین شهر و فضای داخلی ورودی از سمت پیاده راه ولیعصر رو می‌بینیم و این گالری که ما فکر کردیم این گالری میتونست عملکردهای متنوع زیادی رو هم داشته باشه، در عین اینکه یک نوع در حقیقت فیلتر فضایی ما بین شهر و فضای داخل مسجد هست. البته اخیراً من دیدم اومدن جلوش رو بستن با یک چیزهایی که حالا علتش رو نمیدونم. امیدوارم که تمام این جنگ و دعواهایی که سر این مسجد هست بالاخره به نحوی به نتیجه مطلوبی برسیم. این اون فضا هست. پروژه بعدی که الان من بودم راجع بهش صحبت بکنم آوا سنتر هست. این یک مجموعه بزرگ تجاری و تفریحی در شمال تهران در نزدیک کوه‌ها در شمرون و خیلی مجموعه جالبی از آب در اومد، به خاطر اینکه در ابتدا پروژه این نبود. قرار بود که یک پروژه‌ای باشه در خیابان اقدسیه، این موقعیت زمینشه در کنار پارک نیاوران، و قرار بود که یک مجموعه تجاری با 2 طبقه روی زمین و 2 طبقه زیر زمین باشه. بعداً شهردار گفت به علت ترافیکی که در این خیابان هست و در همجوارش هم فضای تجاری قدیمی هست که هیچ کدوم پارکینگ ندارن، شما اگر بتونید پارکینگ اضافه تأمین بکنید برای پاسخگویی به نیاز خیابان، ما هم به شما این امکان رو میدیم که در طبقات بالاتر طبقه 8 و 9 فضای تجاری داشته باشید با عوارض خیلی پایین و یک نوع حالت تشویقی داشتیم.
ببخشید آقای دانشمند، ببخشید
مسئله پروژه
ببخشید میشه یه مقدار سریعتر به آخرش برسید؟
آره، پروژه در حقیقت یک فضای پارکینگ و یک فضای تجاری بر روی اون قسمت 4 طبقه اصلی اضافه کرد و نکته اصلی این بود که حالا ما چطور میتونیم نور رو به داخل بکشونیم و چه ساختاری رو میتونیم به وجود بیاریم. مسئله این پروژه این بود که یک خیابان داخلی در فضای درونیش ایجاد شد که قرار بود رول پارکینگ رو بازی بکنه، ولی با اون سیستم رمپ و لوپی که ما در موردش فکر کردیم که از 2 تا سیستم رمپ بود که در درون هم بودن، این از یک پارکینگ طبقاتی عادی خارج شد و تبدیل شد به یک فضای ایونت سپیس و ما الان تو این سکشن میبینیم که طبقات تجاری در سطح زمین به چه صورته و بعد روی اون این پارکینگ در حقیقت خاص و بعد در بالا هم فضای رستوران و نمایشگاه. فضاهای داخلی هست، فودکورت، فضای نمایشگاه و این پارکینگی که در روی زمین هست که بعد ازش انواع اقسام استفاده ها رو کردن. در حقیقت نمایشگاه برای نوشیدنی ها و غذا و یعنی تبدیل شد به یک خیابان داخلی که در این خیابان مردم میان و انواع اقسام ایونت ها توش شکل میگیره. این نکته در حقیقت نکته جالب این پروژه بود. تا اجرای موسیقی اینجا هم در حقیقت این 3 تا پروژه رو در کنار هم نشون میده و این مسئله که چطور ممکنه که یک کامپلکسی، یک استراکچر خاص رو در نقاط مختلف شهر بتونیم اینستال بکنیم و بعد مردم رو بتونیم اینوالو بکنیم در فعالیتایی که در درون پروژه هست. خیلی ممنون.
Thank you.
Karin, merci Reza, merci.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you. چه؟
میخوایم بیایم بیرون کلا.
نه. بقیه‌شون که بیرون میشه. خودشون حرف بزنن.
Reza and selamlar. Hello, as Digital Futures Turkish, we are Özge from Izmir, Sarvin and Sefer from Istanbul, and together we are aiming to bear the mission that Digital Future has and represented in Turkish. We are working with the same mission, democratizing education and sharing the potential of free knowledge with everyone by hosting workshops, talks, and tutorials in Turkish. As the Turkish channel, even though we live in other countries, we are determined to carry this message to every Turkish-speaking corner of the world and collaborate under the roof of language. To do that, over the past years, together with 35 instructors, we host 18 workshops and talks. We are honored and thankful to have instructors sharing their valuable and unique knowledge and experiences and our Turkish-speaking audience with us. As Digital Futures Turkish, we cannot wait to seek more. So thanks for supporting and joining us on that journey. We will continue to work and to grow together. And in Turkish, merhaba, Digital Futures Türkçe ekibi olarak bizler Özge, Sarvin ve Sefer birlikte Digital Futures'ın sahip olduğu misyonu taşımayı ve Türkçe temsil etmeyi hedefliyoruz. Digital Futures misyonunda eğitimi demokratikleştirmeyi ve ücretsiz bilginin potansiyelini herkesle paylaşmaya çalışıyor. Bu nedenle Türkçe atölyeler, söyleşimler ve eğitimler düzenliyoruz. Türkçe kanalı olarak her ne kadar başka ülkelerde yaşasak da bu mesajı dünyanın Türkçe konuşulan her köşesine taşımaya ve aynı dil altında işbirliği yapmaya kararlıyız. Bunun için son 2 yılda 35 eğitmenimiz ile birlikte 18 atölye ve söyleşiye ev sahipliği yaptık. Değerli ve eşsiz bilgi ve deneyimlerini bizimle paylaşan eğitmenlerimize ve Türkçe kitlerimize çok teşekkür ediyor, onur ve minnettarlık duyuyoruz. Digital Futures Türkçe olarak daha fazlası için sabırsızlanıyoruz. Bu yolculukta bizlere destek olduğunuz ve katılımınız için çok teşekkür ederiz. Birlikte büyümek için çalışmaya devam edeceğiz. Now we can move to the next slide. Ve ödüle geçmeden önce Digital Futures Türkçe olarak geçmiş etkinliklerimizi sizlere sunmak isteriz. Before moving on to the award, we would like to present our previous events in Digital Futures Turkish under the themes of AI, VR, computational design, data visualization, fabrication, space architecture, material studies, performative design, interactive design, biodesign, and design fiction. And as Digital Futures, we are delighted to announce the winner of the 2023 Digital Futures Turkish Award, Memo Akten. It is a great honor to introduce Memo Akten, a truly remarkable individual in the world of art and technology. Memo Akten is a multidisciplinary artist, musician, and researcher from Istanbul, Turkey, currently based in Los Angeles. He creates speculative simulations and data dramatizations, investigating the intricacies of human-machine entanglements and the tensions between ecology, technology, science, and spirituality. For more than a decade, his works has been exploring artificial intelligence, big data, and our collective consciousness. He received his PhD from the Goldsmith University of London, specializing in creative applications of AI with meaningful human control. And in this field, he is considered one of the world's leading pioneers. He is currently an assistant professor of computational art at UC San Diego. With his ability to blend the realm of human creativity and artificial intelligence, Memo Akten continues to leave an indelible mark as an artist. ve in Turkish Digital Futures olarak 2023 Digital Futures Türkçe ödül sahibi Memo Akten'i duyurmaktan mutluluk duyuyoruz. Sanat ve teknoloji dünyasının dikkat çekici isimlerinden Memo Akten'i sizlere tanıtmak bizim için büyük bir onur. Memo Akten şu anda Los Angeles'ta yaşayan İstanbul'dan çok disiplinli bir sanatçı, müzisyen ve araştırmacıdır. 10 yıldan fazla bir süredir çalışmaları yapay zekayı, büyük veriyi ve kolektif bilincimizi araştırmaktadır. Anlamlı insan kontrolü ile yapay zekanın yaratıcı uygulamalarında uzmanlaşmıştır ve bu alanda dünyanın önde gelen öncülerinden biri olarak kabul edilmektedir. Şu anda da UC San Diego'da hesaplamalı sanat alanında yardımcı doçenttir. İnsan yaratıcılığı ile yapay zekayı harmanlama yeteneğiyle Memo Akten bir sanatçı olarak silinemez izler bırakmaya devam etmektedir. So we can watch his video now.
...1980'lerde ve 90'larda İstanbul'da büyürken internet yoktu. Dünyada neler olup bittiğini bilme fırsatım yoktu. Uzaktaki zihinlerle bağlantı kurma fırsatım yoktu. Ve kendimi oldukça izole hissediyordum. Bu yüzden Digital Futures'ın değerini çok iyi anlıyorum. İnternet tabii dünyaya erişimi sağladı. Ama bilgi alışverişinin sınırlarını gerçekten kıran asıl Digital Futures gibi girişimlerdir. Yıllardır çok seçkin konuşmacıları, düşünürleri, yazarları, sanatçıları çıkarıp dünya çapında serbestçe erişilebilir hale getiren bir organizasyondan böyle bir ödül almak benim için gerçekten çok büyük bir onur. Bu yüzden komiteye çok büyük teşekkürler. Thank you so much to the committee. I'm really honored to receive this award from an organization so dedicated to making education free and accessible. Şimdi birkaç dakika işlerim hakkında kısaca konuşacağım. Many years ago, I had this realization that all my work was about waves, and it was also about gods, and that somehow quantum mechanics unified the two. With the term waves, I'm referring to the patterns in nature which we humans have managed to recognize, deconstruct, and formalize into theories and equations that we somehow even find elegant or beautiful. And with the term gods, I am referring to those mysterious aspects of nature which we have yet to understand, and the lengths that we go to, the stories we invent in our attempts to make sense of them. And with quantum mechanics, I'm referring to the fringes of human knowledge, which we empirically know to be accurate and can understand through the language of mathematics, but we're not yet able to fully comprehend on a deeper level. With this backdrop, in my work, I investigate the tensions between technology, ecology, science, and spirituality. I draw connections between intelligence in nature, intelligence in machines, perception, consciousness, neuroscience, biology, physics, and philosophies of spirituality, ritual, and religion. I'm inspired by nature, or rather, the nature of nature. The fundamental forces and underlying processes that shape everything that happens around and inside us. When I look at a flower, I see the nuclear fusion in the heart of the sun, the photons scattering in the atmosphere to create a crimson sky, the photosynthesis that fuels life on Earth, the fluid dynamics driving the wind and the waves crashing on the shore, and the complex ecosystems they cultivate via a symbiotic spread of seeds. I study these hidden processes that shape our world, and I develop systems that abstract behavior, and I'm fascinated by our capacity to dig deeper and discover and learn more about the poetry of nature. I write code, that's my craft, so to speak. I write code to create speculative simulations and data dramatizations. I write code to create moving images, experimental animations, sounds, and to control robotic lights and lasers. I collaborate with dancers. I collaborate with machines. I build interactive systems exploring meaningful human control. I create visual instruments that augment our capacity for creative expression, immersive environments that respond to human presence, computational systems that allow and foster expressive human-machine interaction. I work with emerging technologies, thinking of these technologies as extensions of our body, as extensions of our mind, thinking about their impact on us as individuals, how we behave and express ourselves, and ultimately their impact on culture, ethics, law, tradition, ritual, and religion. I think about ritual and religion a lot, not necessarily the old, well-established rituals, religions, or forms of spirituality, but rather their new, evolved incarnations. New rituals, new spiritual frameworks, new forms of worship, and the values enmeshed with the technologies that we're creating. What I'm really fascinated by is we, who are biologically identical to what we were 200,000 years ago, how do we cope and adapt throughout the crazy technological developments that we've lived through? I think of rituals as algorithms for the body and mind that transform our mental and emotional state to otherwise unattainable modes of being. And this is why, in a lot of my work, I'm trying to capture and convey these sensations that we might relate to as spiritual or even religious experiences. I enjoy treading the lines between comfortable and uncomfortable. I embrace the contradictory complexities of our techno-culture. So in my practice, I advance critical perspectives on emerging technologies and social power dynamics. At the same time, I also strive to create meditative and introspective environments that nurture a sense of wonderment, awe, connection to the planet, connection to the cosmos, connection to each other and all living beings. Finally, I think a lot about the mind, the human mind, non-human minds, biological minds, synthetic minds, distributed minds. I think a lot about intelligence, intelligence in humans, intelligence in nature, intelligence in machines. And this is ultimately the topic that I received my PhD in. I'm really interested in the technologies and the politics of the technologies and where artificial intelligence as a concept came from and how the technologies have manifested themselves today in our lives and the social and cultural implications of the path that they're on. But I'm equally fascinated by a more speculative metaphysics of AI, as reflections of ourselves, as reflections on how we perceive the world and how we make meaning, as a computational lens on trying to understand ourselves, the nature of the mind, and perhaps, eventually, even consciousness.
And that's all from our Turkish team. I would like to thank Memo Aktan for recording this video, even he couldn't make our live session. It was a truly inspiring work, and it's a pleasure to have him, like all the award winners, all the teams. Thank you.
Neil?
We have Michael.
Yes, Michael.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Michael.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That was a beautiful video from Memo. Fantastic. As we're approaching the last of today's awards, let me thank the team and also all the recipients for really fantastic work. It was such an amazing event today. Wonderful. I'm Michael, and it is my privilege to introduce the Mark Cousins Theory Award. In memory, of course, of the late and great Mark Cousins of the AA in London, whose work continues to resonate strongly. So the Mark Cousins Award is awarded this year for the third time. Now, let me introduce the committee. Sanford Quinter. Sanford is someone who needs no introduction. I think we have all been for sure inspired by his very prominent and influential work. I also believe that Sanford is joining us today, which is a privilege. Neil Leach, Neil needs no introduction either. Of course, if you're here, you know Neil, co-founder, of course, of Digital Futures. Let's turn to Ana Maria Duran Calisto. Ana Maria is an architect and theorist at Yale, and Ana Maria was last year's Mark Cousins Award recipient. Likewise, Alexandra Jeschke is an architect and theorist at UT Austin, and Alexandra was the first recipient in 21. Of course, you can find Ana Maria, Alexandra's, and Sanford's work on Digital Futures. Last not least, myself, I am completing a PhD at the City University of Hong Kong. I'm an artist, and I also run a studio here in Berlin. It was a real privilege for me to be on this committee and to be a part of the intense conversation that went on for days and actually also nights. With that said, let's turn to this year's Mark Cousins Theory Award winner. Next slide, please. Yeah, who is Andrei Rodman of TU Delft. So my privilege now to introduce Andrei. I will allow me to quickly read his biography. So Andrei Rodman is Assistant Professor of Architectural Philosophy and Theory and coordinator of the Ecologies of Architecture Research Group at the Faculty of Architecture and the Built Environment, Delft University of Technology. Over the past 2 decades, Rodman's research has focused on the nexus between architecture and radical empiricism. Andrei wrote a very intriguing, very original dissertation on J.J. Gibson, which I believe is somewhat of a grounding or a background out of which the subsequent work has emerged. So he's a member of the National Committee on Deleuze and Guattari Scholarship, and the production editor and member of the editorial board of the peer-reviewed architecture theory journal Footprint. Rodman is a co-editor of Critical and Clinical Cartographies, Architecture of Life and Death, and The Space of Technicity, which is forthcoming. He is the author of Gibsonism, that was the dissertation I referred to earlier, and Ecologies of Architecture, Essays on Territorialization. He is also a licensed architect with a portfolio of built and competition-winning projects. Rodman received the Croatian Association of Architects Annual Award for Housing Architecture in Croatia in 2002. I should mention that Andrei has been on Digital Futures twice already, once by the end of 21 on the great session on Simondon, and then recently in March, and a session on Bergson, both times with his colleague at TU Delft, Stavros Kousoulas, whose work is equally outstanding. And I also should mention that the session on Bergson was followed up by one on Haraway by Andrei's colleagues Heidi Zohn and Robert Gorney. I mention this because I think there is a quite strong and productive collaboration going on at TU Delft, and to a certain extent, perhaps the award also honors that. We had a very recent exchange with Andrei concerning issues and notions around action and agency, activism, and the political. Maybe most importantly, the ecology and the ecological, which seems to be an overarching sort of notion underpinning his work. Alongside, as Sanford has pointed out, an inquiry into let's say, into matter and sentience, which I think is a really wonderful and quite profound topic. Now, all of this would be material for further conversation. And I hope that we will get to that. Andrei is traveling, so he can't join us today, but he has recorded his speech. And so with that said, I suggest we turn to Andre, who is going to explain to us as to why society needs to be ecologized. Thank you.
Let me begin by expressing how incredibly flattered I am to have my name associated with that of Mark Cousins, widely regarded as the theorist's theorist. I'm truly honored to receive recognition for my humble contribution to the field of architecture theory, which, in my view, can be summed up in the line, society must be ecologized, not just defended. I'm also grateful to the Digital Futures jury for upholding the ethos of genuine inclusivity, which has made it possible for a middle-aged, white, heterosexual male European like myself to be honored, which, as you may know, is not so common these days. Unfortunately, I will be unable to attend the event due to travel commitments. Therefore, I have pre-recorded my contribution, in which I will briefly outline the 6 principles of what I refer to as the ecologies of architecture. In a desperate attempt to catch up with forms of contemporary media culture, architects tend to perpetuate earlier notions of culture as representation, rather than culture as modes of existence. Architecture has yet to break with the conception of culture as reflection, still firmly embedded in its parochial concepts. When a society manipulates its matter, it's not a reflection of culture, it is culture. So to speak of ecologies of architecture is to break with judgment in favor of experience. Experimentation comes before interpretation because one cannot understand a system unless one acts on it. This is Schizoanalysis 101. If to think differently, we have to feel differently, then the design of built environment has no other purpose but that of what Simondon calls trans-individuation. Here are the 6 ecological concepts. First, pedagogy of the senses. Post-human or non-anthropocentric architecture ought to focus on the encounter between thought and that which forces it into action. While accepting multiple nested scales of reality, ecologies of architecture challenges the alleged primacy of the physical world. What we engage with is the world considered as an environment and not an aggregate of objects. The emphasis is on the encounter, where experience is seen as an emergence which returns the body to a process field of exteriority. Sensibility introduces an aleatory moment into thought's development, thus turning contingency into the very condition for thinking. It is the encounter that compels the thought and not vice versa. Radical perspectivism. The ecological perspectivist assault on the egological representation of thinking inevitably impinges upon the identity of the subject. Where Kant founded the representational unity of space and time upon the formal unity of consciousness, the difference fractures consciousness into multiple states not predicable of a single subject. In other words, the difference breaks with the differentiation of an undifferentiated world in favor of the homogenization of a milieu or Umwelt. Yet, perspectivism is not to be confused with relativism. To paraphrase the anthropologist Ribeiros de Castro, different life forms do not see the same world in different ways, or that would be cultural relativism, but rather see different worlds or different coping possibilities or affordances in the same way. In other words, relativity of truth is very different from the truth of the relative or the relational. Anti-hylomorphism. Ecologies of architecture relies on schizoanalytic cartography to overturn the theater of representation into the order of desiring production. The ultimate ambition is to debunk hylomorphism, where form is imposed on supposedly inert matter, and to promote the alternative immanent teleodynamic approach that is at once more humble and more audacious. There lies a revolutionary potential in creating the new, defined as the circulation of decoded and deterritorialized flows, or the waving of co-evolutions in Spenglerian parlance, that resist the facile co-option by overcoding. To overcode is to illegitimately overstretch conceptual resources, which indeed renders the term visionary architect banal. Asignifying semiotics. To speak of univocity of expression is to break with equivocity of the hegemonic linguistic sign. Action and perception are inseparable, as are forms of life in their environments. If objects of knowledge are separated from objects of existence, we end up with a duality of mental and physical objects, Whitehead's bifurcation of nature, that leads to an ontologically indirect perception. By contrast, the premise of ecologies of architecture is that perceptual systems resonate with information, where information is defined as a difference that makes a difference, famous Smithsonian definition. This Guattarian ethico-aesthetic approach is grounded on the premise that from the outset, real experience is a relation of potential structure rather than a formless, chaotic swirl onto which structure must be imposed by cognitive processes. The world is seen as an ongoing, open process of mattering, where meaning and form are acquired in the actualization of different agential virtualities. Epigenetic turn. Architecture ought to reclaim its vanguard position within the epigenetic turn, which embraces technicity as constitutive of post-humanity, and not just the other way around. Experience is not an event in the mind, rather the mind emerges from interaction with the environment. The predominant homeostatic notion of structure in architectural thinking has to give way to the event-centered ontology of relations. The metastability of existence, formerly known as sustainability, is to be mapped in the very act of becoming. If representation is a means to an end, classification, schizoanalytic cartography is a means to a means, hence the endorsement of abduction. Niche construction. The virtual as a proto-epistemological level of priming is already ontological, insofar as it concerns change in the degree to which a form of life is enabled vis-à-vis its built environment. The reciprocal determination commits contemporary architecture to the generalized ecology. Only recently have biologists considered the effect that niche construction has on the inheritance system. They confirm that an organism does not only passively submit to the pressures of a pre-existing environment, but also actively constructs its existential niche. The implications for the discipline of architecture, considering its quasi-causal role in the weaving of coevolutions, remain significant and widening. To conclude, not only is there no ecology without ethology, but also, to paraphrase Yuk Hui, technodiversity becomes as crucial as biodiversity. In fact, it can be argued that there would be no new diversity of minds, without technodiversity. Let me do the concluding part again, but this time in Croatian, my mother tongue. Nema ekologije bez etologije. Ne postoji uzročni slijed koji ide od okoline preko stimulacije organa do mozga. Umjesto toga postoji netotalizirajuće jedinstvo postignuto na sučelju organizma i okoline pomoću odjekane informacije. Naglasak je na susretu gdje je iskustvo nova pojava koja vraća tijelo u procesno polje vanjskoga. Yuk Hui stoga s pravom ističe kako je tehnološka raznolikost jednako važna kao i biološka raznolikost. Zapravo može se tvrditi da bez tehnološke raznolikosti ne bi bilo ni umne raznolikosti. Najljepša hvala. Once again, in English, I'm deeply grateful for the recognition, and the award serves as a tremendous source of motivation for me. Thank you so much.
And to conclude, congratulations, Andre, and safe travels. And with that, I will hand over to Neil.
Thanks, Mikhail. I don't know if Sanford's here, but I just wanted to ask him whether you'd like to make a brief comment. We did have such a debate, and I think this was such a terrific contribution. I don't know if Sanford, you would like to say something before we move on? Otherwise we can.
Hi there, guys. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm on a phone with no
video. We can.
Yeah. But all I really have to say is I've enjoyed this this entire ceremony for its expansiveness, its geographical expansiveness, and etc. But I will say, to speak a bit curmudgeonly, that it's been a desperate many years in the field of design, looking for hope and inspiration. But frankly, just listening to Memo Akten and Radman together, I realize there is, without a doubt, a redirection emerging of incredible interest and importance. And I'd just like to say I'm so grateful that this happened in this way, that those things were, two things were brought together to point to, I would say, an entire new mindset and program of research and exploration in the world. I mean, that's certainly how I'm receiving it. I feel immensely inspired today in a way that I haven't been in a very long time. And I know what I'm going to paying attention to henceforth. So anyway, guys, great. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Thank you also for being part of that jury. It was in itself an incredible process. I would just like to second what Sanford was saying. I was also kind of blown away by those, memos. It was astonishing. And Andres, there's such richness there. But I think throughout the day, we've seen this kind of rich tapestry that points towards the fact that actually it's so easy when you're operating, let's say, in a certain Western perspective, and say the States, to think that that is the end of the world. But actually, what we've seen today is that there is extraordinary contributions from all over this planet. That is precisely what makes the world so interesting: the diversity, the deterritorialized nature of the inquiry, the inspiration, the intelligence behind it, and the motivation. Unbelievable. And I think this is something that we have to push further to address so we can all appreciate that. And culture is rich, and we have seen evidence of that today. I want to finish off, though, by just thanking once more the astonishing selflessness of those who've contributed to this festival. Unbelievable, unbelievable. The contributions of the tutors themselves, who, in their passion to share knowledge, have shared their time, and it was with students so eager to learn. That has been wonderful to see in a world where we're all encouraged to be increasingly selfish, to see that kind of openness and honesty and generosity above all. And I want to thank the organization itself, the team behind it, and maybe, well, you haven't seen what I've seen, the kind of incredible dedication of some very, very motivated people. And in the end, wherever we come from, whatever we're doing, I think our objective is the same in some sense, to try and make the world a better place. And I think what we've seen today are attempts to do that. And it's an ongoing process. We see a world that is forever being divided by conflict, by animosity, and so on. How can we bring it together? And how can we bring it together through design and through intelligent thinking? And there is so much out there today that has made me astonished about it. I was also, I would say briefly, to me, another highlight was being able to hear Reza. I visited 2 of his buildings in Iran, that were remarkable buildings. And what I found incredible was the response that we got on Instagram when we put out Reza and his partner announced them as the winners of the Farsi Award, or Catherine, the winners of the Farsi Award. There were so many likes, something like 2,000 likes, and I think it's wonderful to be able to include that incredibly rich Farsi community, Farsi-speaking community in our whole sort of our whole sort of dynamic worldview here. So that was very special. But there were so many. If I mention all of them, I will run out of time. But I just want to say briefly that Ross is unwell and was unable to join us. We had the great privilege of him dropping in, literally, almost by parachute, in an event in Venice this summer. And we are planning to hold a Digital Futures and Legends session with him fairly soon. So we will hear again from him. I want to finish, though, by inviting everyone to maybe to put their videos on and to share their cameras so we can take a selective view of all of us here today. So please switch your videos on. Thank you.
Hi, Neil.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Hi.
Thank you to all, and especially to all the tutors we can now see on the screen who've contributed as well in the background. Wonderful, wonderful contribution, and we've shared our passion. I think we've shown that the world is maybe more united than we thought it was, and it's so inspirational. Thank you so much. Reza, it's great to see you. Merci. Afarin. Fantastic.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Obrigado, obrigada.
Gracias a todos.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.